Oh boy, this is it. This is the time that we actually create the MongoDB Sink Connector and pretty much wrap up the demo or the hands-on lab. We can basically have the Confluent Cloud open. We want to go to MongoDB to get our connectivity information. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. When we log into MongoDB, use the Google to authenticate. So I'm going to go in and connect here. And this information, basically what I need is the database connect information. So connect my application. I can see it's Atlas demo. And this is the connectivity information that I need. So I'm going to close out of this, paste it into my handy notepad. Let's put that over here at the bottom. And we now have the connectivity information that we want. And so if you take a look over here, actually let's take a look first and show all of the databases that are here and browse the collections. So if we go to browse collections, we don't have any data, right? Which is fine. That's what we expected. It's a brand new cluster. So I was on our connectors, we can see that the Oracle customer orders is running, and I noticed that during we looked at the topics, the order ID and store IDs, they didn't seem to be like numbers, like it was defined in the schema. But I think we'll see that they actually are flowing through correctly. So let's create a new connector, and we will add that connector, which is going to be MongoDB Atlas. I've actually done a search here. You can type in the search bar for anything like Postgres. Like Postgres. There we go. Postgres Sink, for example, a Postgres source. We're going to look for Atlas. MongoDB Atlas Sink is what we're interested in. So I can actually see there's a dead letter queue that's out there and the Oracle customer products. And this is the one that we want for the Oracle data. So we go ahead and say continue. Do we want to connect? We're going to use the existing API key that we created earlier. So we go back to the notepad here. Here's my API key and secret. And my little secret. There we go. And we will continue. Go. So then now it needs the connection host, and that's this little guy here we got from the Atlas demo. Again, we could go back here and get it from there as well if we need to. Connection user, I set up the demo user and my super secret password. Google Chrome likes to tell me is not very secret after all. So we don't have a database, we don't have collections. So we will actually create a database, and we'll call it the sales database, and we're going to have a collection name called customer orders. And I'll hit continue. And now, yeah, it doesn't like my password. I totally understand that. I do not want to save it. So we basically go through here, and what is the input value record format? Well, we chose JSON SR. So there are advanced configurations, but I think that's pretty much everything that we need at this point. I'm going to go ahead and say continue. And how many tasks do we want? And I just want one task. That's good enough. So we're off to the races. I'm going to call this MongoDB Atlas Sink Customer Orders. And we should be ready to go. So here's the configuration. Again, you cut and paste this for a Terraform script or things of that nature. We're ready to rock and roll. So I'll go ahead and continue. And it should be firing up the connector. And we can see that it's actually, when it starts to run, it'll be really interesting to take a look. Let's go back and look at our topics. Let's go back and look at our messages. And we'll go back into the offset 0. Right? And we can see these things. Now this is what concerned me, is these little customer ID, ASW. I'm not sure. I don't think this is a bug. I think it's a quote-unquote feature. We're encrypting data that may may need to be encrypted, like the ID fields. I have no idea what's going on, to be honest. I hope something like that. I know that it works, so I'm pretty sure that you just can't read it in this format. The other thing I've noticed is that if you go switch between the formats, you're able to see created time and things of that nature. You notice that here we see an email address, right? And if I go back here, I don't think we saw the email address. Maybe I missed it, but let's go back. So actually it says it's now running. That's great. So I could jump to the connector, but I don't need to jump to the connector. Let me go back over here. Yeah, and oh, it does have the email address. Okay, well, all right, fine. So if we go back to our connectors, we could do that. And it is running. That's great. So let's take a look. Do we have data? Let's go back and refresh this. Ta-da! We have sales and we have customer orders. And guess what? We have a real customer ID, and we have the order ID, I think, is in here as well. Yes. So customer ID, order ID is here. Customer ID is here. That's all great. The last thing that we need to do is, and this is basically end-to-end, we pulled data from Oracle, put it into Kafka. We didn't actually do any modification, but you can set up a schema registry, and we've actually persisted this data in MongoDB. And notice that it went back from the beginning of time. Well, what about ongoing orders? Well, anytime I add an order, it will show up here. And so what I want to do is do that, but I'm going to actually do that in the next video. Quite exciting.